That was the end of 1974. We're in 1975. Woo! Happy New Year. This is Indy 800. 1975. Let's take a look at some of the artwork. This is another one by Atari, or Key Games. It's Atari. They made it the subsidiary because there were so many clones with Pong. They needed some way to help the competition. And so they made Key Games. So this is Indy 800, 8-player color version of the greatest moneymaker ever. So an 8-player arcade game, we got paddles at the bottom, or pedals to drive, and then you got the steering wheel, and they fit 8 people around the whole thing. It still looks fun. I guess for 1975, it's got to be awesome. And it was color display, and by color, they're not saying it's a color overlay. They're making the video game programmed to use color, which uses more RAM and memory, so far more sophisticated than what we've seen, or at least the usual. We're still going to see a lot of black and white. Gentlemen, start your engines and your profits. Players drop their quarters. Oh, that's true. Every side has 2 Coinbase, so they're expected lots of moolah for Indy 800. There's an example of some other Atari cabinets that came out around this era. Start playing with the future today, with the brightest constellation of stars ever, with a black and white flyer. That's how you sell black and white. So there's an example of what the game is. All 8 cars start on the side of the screen, and then they drive around. That's pretty crazy to play with all 8. I mean, look at everyone's gonna crash. All right, let's see if the manual helps us out with anything. Indy 800 by Key Games, a subsidiary of Atari. Yep, there it is. There's our warranty. Let's see if we got general information about the machine. Anything about how to play. This looks like only information of how to set up the cabinet, which they needed before they used it in the arcade. So nothing helpful with the manual. Don't think Indy 800 works, but let's give it a shot and see. This is April 14th, 1975, Indy 800 in the arcade by Atari. And it's all black, which means it doesn't work. This means it doesn't have a microprocessor. So we're not able to check it out, sadly. We needed 8 people to play it anyway. So you get 0 stars. Still a good game. We have to give it 0 just because it's broken. Doesn't work. All right, moving on to Highway. So 1975 still. This is another one from Atari. Atari is killing it. Let's check out the images. This is Highway from Atari. There's an example of the artwork. Pretty simple for the advertisement flyer. There we go. Wait a second. Highway and Highway. Why do they spell it different? I wonder if it's 2 different games. Well, it has it's the same picture. Maybe it was differently named in different areas. I am not sure. So if you look at the advertisement flyer, they're showing examples of, why you would want to buy this cabinet. What makes it so good? This is so new that a lot of the stuff they explain is pretty simple. Like, it says that it's a completely new generation in driving games. So what other driving games were out in the arcades? You would have go-karts, actual driving. There wasn't any other video games that were driving except the top-down driving games. So this one is slightly different. It's a top-down game that scrolls, or it makes you think it's scrolling, but it's really not. It's a trick. But there's an example of the sit-down cabinet, and there's a screenshot for us. And you can see in the video here, the screen looks like it's moving up as you drive the car, but that's an illusion. It makes you think that's what it is. Let's see if the manual has any info for us. This is the service information for Highway by Atari, and we're looking for anything that shows... Okay, they show controls of how to play, but a lot of it you can see is circuit information, how to set up the board, and to build the arcade cabinet. And maintenance, too, because you had to make sure they were operating properly. All right, so this one is another game that does not have a microprocessor, so we're not able to run this one. Sadly, we got to give it a 0 star. Thanks, Highway. I'm pointing these games out because even though they're not able to be run, or you need a simulator instead of an emulator, I want to highlight them just to say they were there. They were something that people could see in the arcades in 1975 to give you an idea of what kind of landscape we're looking at in the video games of the era. And we'll be able to play plenty of games later that's going to copy a lot of the games that we couldn't play. For example, Tank. So many games are going to be using Tank's format, so we will see that game in the future. All right, let's move on to Street Burners. This is 1975. Doesn't look like Atari, though. Let's see what the artwork shows us. Street Burners. It's from Allied Leisure Industries, otherwise known as ALI. Street Burners is Allied's one 25-cent or two 50-cent player video racing game. So another racing game. Looks like it features a 23-inch TV screen. I don't know if that's good. In 1975, was 23 inches a big deal? Because it has the solid state monitor with the dimensions of the monitor. Ooh, is that going to sell you if you know the dimensions of the monitor? So there's an example of the arcade cabinet. We still have the pedals to accelerate. You have a steering wheel, and we got a gear shifter that gears up and down. And there's an example of the screenshot. If that's our only screenshot, that means that we got another game that is only transistor to transistor logic. It's using individual chips, no microprocessor. So this one will not run, and we don't have a manual for it, so we got to sadly give it 0 stars. Just top-down racing game. Would love to play it. If anybody knows simulators or ways to play these games and make them work, please let me know. I've been dying just to check them out to see what they're like. All right, let's move on to Anti-Aircraft. This one's next from 1975. This is from Atari again. Let's see some of the artwork here. This is Anti-Aircraft. 1 or 2 gunners can play. Cannons have 3 firing positions. Each player has 3 fire control buttons. Cannons fire, explode, and scream past guns. Ooh, fancy. There's the arcade cabinet. I can't even tell what the control panel is. How do you control this thing? Oh, there we go. There's the control panel. It still looks like nothing. How are they controlling this? There's no joysticks or buttons. What? I'd like to know what this is. How you control Anti-Aircraft. Maybe the manual will tell us. So here's the manual of Anti-Aircraft Operation Service Manual by Atari. I don't see the date on it, but it is 1975. Let's look at play and see if it has an example. Play. Tell us how to play. So you can see how detailed these manuals for arcade cabinets are giving the assembly, how you do it from the beginning. Okay, here we go. In the attract mode, the guns are locked in the center aimed position and are continuously firing. Aircraft overhead. So in play mode, 2-player game operating selected option of 1 or 2 players. Has a coin mechanism to start the game, and a gun positions itself into one of 3 positions, then fires the proper control button. Oh, it's just a button. That's it. That was one big pad, and you just push the button down. Okay. This one I don't think will run for us. Let's see what happens. So we're in June 6, 1975. This is Anti-Aircraft by Atari in the arcades. Anything? No. If we're all black, it means it's no microprocessor. Got to have a simulator for it. All right, so we got to sadly give it a 0 star rating. Would love to check that one out. All right, let's move on to Shark Jaws, 1975. Now, the name Jaws means this is the very first, at least to my knowledge, licensed game based on a movie, Jaws. So this is an arcade cabinet I believe they began to build before the movie came out, and this is the first time we've ever seen something not original made for a video game, but something that's already been manufactured, or the movie has already come out, and so now they're cashing on the movie rather than what the game has to have. So let's check out the images. Here's the advertisement flyer. Looks like just a shark and a swimmer. They got that all caterwonky to read it. Exciting 1-player underwater video terror. 1 player, so exciting. 19-inch monitor. Gives information of the arcade cabinet there. And then here's the back. Now you and your location can cash in on the popular interest and profits associated with sharks. Shark Jaws. It's completely different. All new video concept. Does it say anything about the movie? Like, this is distributed. No, it doesn't say. I'm looking for order your horror games distributor by Atari. They consider, I guess the movie was kind of horror, but I don't see anything that says about the movie Jaws. So there's our arcade cabinet. It looks like 1 joystick in the center. It's 2 players. So they got 2 coin shoots. All right, let's see the manual. This is Shark Jaws from 1975. Horror games. Sweet. So it's not Atari. It's a different company called Horror Games? Yeah, that's cool. What else did Horror Games make? And looks like, okay, so this one has an introduction. This has a description of the game. Man, the manual's really faded the one we got. 3 images appear on the screen, and looks like the object of the game is for the player to chase and get the little fish before the shark catches him. All right, will it run? I don't think so. This is September 25th, 1975. This is Shark Jaws by Atari, or Horror Games. I don't know if it's the same one, but no, looks like this one's a microprocessor only. So we got to have a simulator for it, which means 0-star rating for Shark Jaws. But it was there in 1975. All right, moving on to Steeplechase. So this is 1975. It looks like a horse racing or betting game. Let's see if it is. We're going to breeze over it. We're not really going to hit on horse betting games. So checking out the artwork, this is Steeplechase competition horse racing. Okay, it is horse racing, but is it like gambling horse racing? It has 6 players. What? Are you controlling the horse? Designed to build extra traffic anywhere and keep the cheering sound of 6/4 per loud for race long and loud. Horse of a different color, 2, 4, or 6 player potential. Match the colors and sound effects. I don't know if they're just betting or if they're actually controlling the horse. Let's see if the manual has anything. Steeplechase by Atari, Operation and Service Manual from 1975. Let's see if we have anything on this. Physical description. Okay, so this does have info of what this is. The physical description is just the description of the arcade cabinet. All this stuff was new at the time, so they had to describe exactly what you would look at, or what Steeplechase, when you saw it, looked like. And then brief description of play. In Steeplechase, a game player tries to jockey a horse to the finish line ahead of the other horses. At the beginning on the left side, a separate image appears for each player along with the 7th pace horse at the bottom. Race begins when the start button is depressed, ends when the horse reaches the finish line. During the race, the horse gallops on the screen, moves left to right, and you have to jump over a string of fences. So there's pickets, and I bet you jump over. So you have to advance toward the finish line. A player has this to make his horse jump over the pickets after the first one. He does this by depressing his front panel push button whenever he wants the horse to jump. So it's a racing game. It is not a betting game, because you're just playing as a horse and you're racing. Well, you're riding as a jockey, but it is not a betting horse racing game. All right, let's see if Steeplechase runs. This is October 1975. Steeplechase in the arcade by Atari. No, we got a black screen. So it looks like this one does not have a microprocessor. You need to have a simulator. Gets a 0-star rating. But we will see this copied later, even though we can't run the arcade system. All right, moving on to Crash and Score. We're still in 1975. This is... Let's see what this is. There we go. Let's get the artwork. This is Crash and Score by Atari. 23-inch monitor, 1 to 2 players. Exciting crash for points action. Players can select game with or without barriers. Wow. 2 options. Let's see the manual. Crash and Score Operation Service Manual by Atari. 1975. There we go. We got the physical description of the game. This is the arcade cabinet. Brief description of play. In Crash and Score, a player's objective is to build up their point score. Isn't that every game? Build up the point score? They do this by driving their race car through many lighted flags as you can before the game time runs out. I wonder what it was like to be a writer back then, because this was all new stuff. So to advertise and write about what the game is, it sounds almost like they're just saying the obvious. I guess that's all they could do. Well, let's continue. So on the TV screen, the following playfield obstacles appear. You have oil slicks, unlighted flags, players selectable of barriers, collisions with opponent car. Each flag's labeled with a numerical ranging from 1 to 7. If at any moment, no more than a single flag can be lighted. When a player succeeds in driving through the lighted flag, a number of points equal that flag's numeral is added to the player's accumulated score. So it's a score game to pick up the flags. What happens if you crash into another car? Play ends when the timer's up. Throughout the game play, engine sounds are heard separately for each car. Other sounds produced various times during a play sequence include tire screech. So that's just about how the sounds work. So it looks like as you're driving around, you will crash into each other, but the point is to pick up the flags. All right, let's see if Crash and Score runs for us. This is October 15th, 1975. Crash and Score by Atari in the arcade. Atari is still doing so much to push out, and it looks like this game does not have a microprocessor, so we can't play that one. So it gets a 0-star for Crash and Score. All right, moving on to Jet Fighter, 1975. This one came out next. This is Jet Fighter. Good advertisement flyer. Very clean. Looks good. I like how it says, removable traction panel lets Jet Fighter fit into any location. If this arcade cabinet doesn't fit, don't worry. We can take parts off for you. All right, air combat games. So Atari there's an example of the cabinet, and then there's a German flyer. They had this in Germany. They already had overseas stuff for Atari. That's awesome. Yep, there's the back of the German Jet Fighter flyer, and there's an example of the screenshot. Looks like it's just planes. Well, a few pixels, but you got to use your imagination. All right, so checking out the manual. This is the arcade service manual for Jet Fighter by Atari. Let's see if it has any info for us. In Jet Fighter, the game Delta Wing fighters, one white and one black, fly across the TV screen. Each plane trying to hit the other with its shells. Ah, I see. So you are manipulating a plane now, very similar to the game Tank, and trying to shoot the other player. So you're firing the shells, trying to hit them, and then rack up the points for it. We're going to see this emulated by lots of other consoles and computers later. All right, so this one is another game that does not have a microprocessor, so sadly we got to give it a 0-star rating. Sorry, Jet Fighter, but you will not be forgotten. Okay, moving on to Avenger. This one came out next. This is by Electra, so not Meadows, not Gremlin, not Atari, Electra. Avenger, the boldest fighter jet ever to roam the skies. It's Electra's new single-player video game combat. You're in the lifelike cockpit of this sleek black attack plane surrounded by realistic instrument paddle. Realistic? Oh, look at the cabinet. Do we have a picture of the cabinet? Yeah, they made the cabinet look like a detailed plain instrument paddle. Very cool. All right, let's see if the manual has more stuff for us. There's Avenger with an example of the arcade cabinet. Awesome. Oh, and there's the example of how to take it apart. Let's see if it has any... Okay, this is mostly about just setup. How to build the cabinet, yeah, and put all the parts together. That's what that manual has. So let's see if we can play this one. Avenger, this is November 1975. Avenger by Electra in the arcade. No, we got a black screen. Means no microprocessor, got to have a simulator. So we'll give it a 0-star rating, but we're pointing it out here so it is not forgotten. We will not forget you, Avenger. Well, maybe you will. Just check out the video if you forget. All right, moving on to Gunfight. 1975. Let's see what Gunfight has for us. There's the artwork. This is from Midway, really big arcade manufacturer, Midway. 2-player shootout. Complete player control of the Cowboys. Adjustable time control. Double 25-cent coin shoots for more money. There's the arcade cabinet. Can't see. Oh, there's a better one. Looks like one joystick and one other stick. Probably one to aim and one to move your cowboy around. There we go. So there's the control panel. Cowboy position, how you move them. And then a gun position. Looks like you just aim your gun up and down to shoot. And yeah, it looks like just for controls, it's fire. There's the marquee and some artwork for it. Now, this is interesting. It's 1975. Everything we've seen to this point has probably had half the pixel count of sprites than these cowboys. Plus, it's more detail to actually make them look like cowboys. Everything else has been a blip or a very small object. These are people. All right, so let's see what the manual has. This is Gunfight from Midway, November 1975. Let's see what general instructions have. It's just about installation, how to install the arcade cabinet. Electronic devices, be careful, don't kill yourself. Oh, this is troubleshooting. So yeah, it looks like the arcade manual is just to help set up the cabinet. All right, let's check out Gunfight. This is November 1975 in the arcade, published by Midway. Oh, love it. Look at the artwork. So we got the full marquee and the artwork around the side of the cabinet. Oh, this looks great. All right, let's see if we got different images we can pick from here. There is just the color overlay. So the game was programmed in black and white. They put a yellow overlay to make it look like it was programmed in yellow. But nope, just black and white. All right, so let's see what the controls are. This has just button one, and it looks like two joystick to move the cowboy and a joystick to aim. So let's put a coin in. Cha-ching. Oh, get ready. Draw. So I'm the cowboy on the left. Looks like I can move him up and down, and I can also aim the gun up and down too. And then what's my shoot? Boom. You got me. I am not playing on a computer. They did not program any artificial intelligence, so we'd have to have two people, similar to Pong, to play this. Right now, the other player is not moving. So I have free reign to just, let's see, can I move any further? No, they keep my boundary up, so I can only go in a certain place. We're already having invisible walls in video games in 1975. Oh, I can shoot the cactus head off? Sweet. So as I move around, I can also change the direction of the gun. And man, they're already having a shooter. This is 1975. And I'm shooting someone else in a video game. I wonder if there's any controversy on this. You're shooting cowboys. Well, it's classic, though. I mean, come on. Cowboys shooting each other? That's the way to do it. Yeah, this is awesome. And we got a score. It looks like it has a game timer. So you just play until the timer runs out. And then whoever has the top score at the end. So not anything that's keeping track of who had the best score or high score. It's just, you just play until the time runs out. And it looks like we got a covered wagon that's blocking us. Or trying to block us. So time's running out right now. Let's see what happens. So yeah, game over. Player 1 gets a score of 8. And then they go back to a track mode, I bet. Yep, awesome. That's fantastic. So here at Chronologically Gaming, average is 3 stars. That's above average. That's 3.5 stars for sure. Gunfight, that's pretty good for 1975.